I love Nintendo's products. Seriously, the Nintendo Switch has to be one of my favorite consoles in recent history, and a clear example that pure hardware doesn't mean much if you have great games. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel over the years, you would know that I'm more of a Sega fan than a Nintendo fan. That doesn't mean I hate Nintendo or anything, I just simply didn't grow up with many of their home consoles as a kid. I wasn't completely devoid of Nintendo in my life, I had my fair share of fun memories using their hardware. It wasn't until the last few years that I became a real big fan of their IPs. I played all the Smash Bros. Games and I love them to death. Now that doesn't mean I'm, you know, good.
Did you make it? Did you fucking die?
I have a new obsession with Animal Crossing which kept me entertained for months in early 2020 when civilization itself started to crumble. As of this recording, I'm in the middle of doing a Mario marathon where I go through every single mainline Mario game and I am having a blast. I have both the NES and SNES classic consoles and I love pretty much all of the games they have to offer. When it comes to making quality games, Nintendo is on top. Hi, excuse me sir, I'm here to get the Nintendo Switch game from 3 years ago. Do you guys have it in stock? Sure do, that'll be $60. $60? Seems a bit steep for a game that came out 3 years ago, but I'm sure it's worth it in the end. Here you go. Awesome, thank you so much. Yep, here you go. Have an awesome day. Awesome, thank you so much. Okay. Can we rewind like 10 seconds? What the f? But how they treat their fans is a completely different story. Look, I know I'm not totally used to how Nintendo's business practices work, as I didn't grow up with many of their platforms. Some of you guys might be used to this stuff, but for me, I am utterly shocked at what I'm seeing. They seem so archaic in how they operate. Let me repeat, I love their products, but I can't stand how they treat their fans sometimes. I have a firm belief that the only thing holding Nintendo back is Nintendo. I seriously don't think there is any other major game company that is a threat to Nintendo at the moment. That is a huge testament to how good their IPs are. They know how to make good games. No one can deny that. They are not perfect, obviously, but overall, it's a damn good lineup. But every once in a while, they do something that I can only describe as a slap in the face. Why are you slapping me? Allow me to explain some examples of how I believe Nintendo is their own worst enemy. Let's go back to around 2007 on YouTube.
Chocolate rain.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me. I didn't do anything.
When Let's Plays of video games really started to ramp up on the platform. At first, many game companies, not just Nintendo, would be very strict of people uploading and monetizing gameplay of their first-party IPs. But over time, companies would see a correlation between popular games being watched on YouTube and game sales. Games like World of Warcraft and Minecraft would see a huge surge in popularity thanks to its presence on online platforms. Game companies widely understood that there was a mutual benefit when content creators uploaded their games. Creators would get paid in the process thanks to ads, which would incentivize them to make more content of the game. And companies would see a huge surge in sales due to the wide variety of eyes watching the game, and what is essentially free advertising for the product. It is a win-win for both parties. While the vast majority of game companies would allow footage of their first-party IPs to be published since then, Nintendo would not allow anyone to monetize footage of their games as recently as 2015. Think about how big YouTube already was before that time, and no creator was incentivized to publish Nintendo gameplay. But 2015 wasn't the end of Nintendo's, admittedly, foolish decisions regarding content creators. They would later create a solution, in massive quotes there, for this problem that they themselves created. I'm talking about Nintendo's Creators Program, where any content creator that wants to use Nintendo's content in their video and monetize it would have to sign up for this program through Nintendo, where they will then take, and this is not a joke, 40% of all revenue from the video. But that doesn't count for the roughly, again, I wish I was joking, 45% cut that YouTube already takes from your video's ad revenue. That means if you're a content creator, you get only 15% of the revenue from the video if you use Nintendo content. That is robbery. That move completely killed any and all incentive for content creators to upload first-party Nintendo games, hence minimizing Nintendo games from having any major exposure, which as a result hurts their own sales. I can't imagine why they would make that decision. Was it really worth the 45% from a YouTube video? They had to have seen what their competitors were doing, right? Better yet, they should have allowed full monetization way before that time. This is not even a joke. Back in 2012, when the Wii U released, I honestly didn't know that it was a whole new console. I really thought it was just some sort of add-on for the Wii. And at the time, I was constantly watching YouTube videos of games. This is when the big boom happened for Let's Plays and such. And I swear, if Nintendo just allowed monetization way back when YouTube was popping off, there would have been way more informed people regarding the Wii U. Now I will say, while Nintendo has since disbanded their creators program from 2015, it is still, at the time of this recording at least, not a totally safe idea to make exclusive Nintendo content on online platforms due to copyrighted music in their games. In fact, there is a good chance that while you're listening to this video regarding Nintendo, that I'm playing songs from Sega, because that way, all my hard work won't be for naught. And while I would love to play some Nintendo music as that would be more fitting and such, and they do make really good music, I'm not going to take that risk that later down the road, my video gets blocked or something. And this brings me to my next topic regarding Nintendo's just seemingly archaic way of thinking. I'm talking about Nintendo's obsession with DMCAing, aka cease and desisting, literally any fan passion project that even thinks about existing. There is way too many to count, but some big examples include another Metroid 2 remake, Pokemon Uranium, Pokemon Prism. They even went as far as to DMCA Sony for fan Mario games that were created on Dreams. Now, I know not every game company allows fan games, but out of all of the game companies, Nintendo has to be one of the most uptight about it. Most of the time, it really seems like harmless passion projects from fans showing their love to the brand. Look, I know a lot of people draw this comparison to death, but it needs to be said. Look at Sega. They love and, at times, encourage fan passion projects. Yeah, insert your Sega does what Nintendo don't joke here. But I'm not drawing this comparison to beat a dead horse. I'm drawing this comparison because the response from Sega is what I am used to. Like I said from the beginning, I didn't grow up with much of Nintendo's main consoles as a kid. As a result, I am super late into getting my feet wet in Nintendo's IPs and being in the same atmosphere as other Nintendo fans. And I seriously can't fathom just how restrictive it feels. I'm used to fan events, I'm used to fan games, mods, hacks, ROMs, fan songs, tournaments, etc. And all of that accumulating to Sega working with fan developers to re-release some of Sonic's most classic adventures, which would end up being the best versions of the game. And later working with those same fan developers to make the best Sonic game in a long time. So to join the Nintendo community and to see it completely devoid of the love for the fans from the company, like Sega shows their fans, it was jarring, to me at least. Speaking of tournaments, let's talk about a little video game franchise that is really under the radar, and I'm sure you guys probably never heard of it before. I think it's called Super Smash Bros? All jokes aside, I love the Super Smash Bros. Series. Like other Nintendo properties, I didn't grow up with it initially, but playing through many of the main games on my channel leading up to the release of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is something I will never forget. And as a relatively new person to the scene regarding Super Smash Bros., one thing became immediately clear to me was that there was a huge competitive scene for the game. In fact, I would say Smash tournaments are like the lifeblood of Super Smash Bros. They are everywhere, they are super popular.
Wombo combo! That ain't Falco! That ain't Falco!
And one of the most popular Super Smash Bros. Events is called the Big House, and they have been an annual convention for Smash fans all over the world. And I'm sure you guys know why I'm bringing this up was because Nintendo a few weeks ago shut them down. So, just for context, let's break down what happened. The year is 2020 and we are in the middle of a pandemic. So the idea of a bunch of people huddled up together in a room for a Smash competition doesn't sound like a really good idea. The Big House, naturally, needed to adapt how they should run their event this year. A solution they had for their Melee bracket is to use something called Slippy, which is a mod that allows players to use rollback netcode on Melee, a game that could otherwise only be played locally. With this mod, it would have allowed players the best possible way to play Melee safely without the risk of spreading a life-threatening virus. So naturally, in a heartfelt reaction, Nintendo understood that this mod was absolutely necessary so players can successfully have a Melee tournament this year during a pandemic, and made an exception to allow the Big House to use this mod this year. I'm just kidding. Nintendo said, "F your feelings, we're shutting down the entire event, including your tournament for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate." And you know what? You know what really doesn't sit right with me? Can we just for a second, can we just look at this from the eyes of Nintendo? Like, just really think about this from the eyes of Nintendo. How does this affect you, Nintendo? What does this do? Melee is almost a 20-year-old game. Using Slippy or playing an ISO version of the game does not affect your bottom line. Like, at all. Let's not pretend that it does. It doesn't affect your business in any way, shape, or form because you do nothing with Melee. Oh, but you were going to use a modded version of their game, so they have a right to do this, says the Nintendo fan. Yes, I know, somewhere written on paper in ink, yes, legally they have the right to do this. But does it make it right? Ethically, when we are living in one of the worst years in modern history, when we can't even see people face to face or in person, and people just want to play your game, Nintendo. They just want to have fun with a super fun game, amazing game that has been giving people joy for years and years. Heaven forbid, they just want to play your game safely and online. Oh, but it is our intellectual property. You're going to use a modded version of the game. This affects our copyright. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, like, at all. You do nothing with Melee. How else do you expect people to play the game now? Hi, is this the generic video game store? Great. By any chance, do you guys have Super Smash Bros. Melee for the Nintendo GameCube in stock? Oh. What do you mean you don't have it? Did you check the back room? Did you double check? Do I know what year it is? Yeah, what a stupid question. It's 2020, sadly. Why do you ask? Hello? Oh. That's the 27th video game store that hung up on me in a row! 28th time's the charm. You're not selling a new port of this game. All right, this doesn't affect your player base or decrease your player base for Ultimate. All this would have done was maybe keep Melee relevant a little bit longer, you know, introduce new players to the series, further increasing your sales for games like Ultimate or any future Smash game you have planned in the future. You know, should we rewind what happened back in 2013 at EVO? In fact, I remember this so vividly because it was so stupid. And I wasn't like, you know, paying attention to the Smash scene or like, you know, following the news regarding everything happening competitively. But I remember this reached, you know, everywhere because it was so stupid. Back at EVO 2013, Nintendo tried to block legal versions of Melee from being played. So what happened? The community voiced their concerns, Nintendo backpedaled, reversed their decisions, allowed Melee to be played at EVO 2013, and then what happened next? Melee blew up in popularity in the competitive scene, which probably helped increase your sales when Ultimate came out. This is just yet another example of how Nintendo is shooting themselves in the foot right now. Oh, but wait, it's not over. After the Big House competition got cease and desisted from Nintendo, there was a movement from the Melee community called #FreeMelee to bring awareness to Nintendo in protest after their recent actions toward the game and the community. The movement is to simply show Nintendo that there is a huge community that loves their game and wants the freedom to be able to play it without Nintendo breathing down their necks. Fast forward to just about a week ago at the time of this recording. On December 6th, there was going to be a Splatoon 2 tournament, and the Splatoon 2 community, naturally, showed solidarity to the Melee community by naming some of their team names with a variant of #FreeMelee. So Nintendo, being the major corporation that they are, decided to be the bigger person here and not do anything about the team names and allow the tournament to go off without a hitch. I'm just kidding. They decided to take the petty route and shut down that event too last minute because of the team names. I'm sorry, I just need to ask this as an outsider looking in. Is Nintendo's goal to make all of their communities absolutely hate them? Because they're doing a really good job. I mean, seriously, what are they going to do next? Shut down a charity? For those that don't know, Etika was huge in the Nintendo and gaming communities as a whole. In fact, if you guys have been watching my channel or my social medias over the years, you would know that I am a huge fan of the dude. If I had to describe his live streams in one word, I would say they were electric. He was always so hype and just so outgoing. Sadly, later down the road in mid-2019, he succumbed to some severe mental health issues, and he would later take his own life. I don't really like to talk about that whole thing publicly because it was really hard for me and many others. It's still really hard for me. Whenever I see a clip from his live streams, I sometimes forget that he's gone. It just doesn't feel real, you know? I'm just going to leave it at that. But when I tell you guys I felt genuine anger when I heard the news regarding the Etikons, I mean it. A person by the name of Alex Blake started a fundraising campaign to make custom Joy-Con shells called Etikons, which were decked out with Etika's logo, and it said Joy-Con Boys, which is what Etika referred to his fans as. Any and all of the proceeds that went into these Joy-Con shells would go toward the JED Foundation, which helped raise mental health awareness for teens and young adults. Nintendo, thinking they didn't already have enough bad PR, decided to cease and desist this charity because of the use of Joy-Con. Here's the kicker though. The way Joy-Con was spelled on the controller isn't even the same way Nintendo spells it. Nintendo usually uses a dash while the other one didn't. But I guess that wasn't enough for them, so they just shut it down. Again, I understand they have a right to protect their copyright. Any company does. But my God, does this company ever ask to themselves, does it make sense to do this? Ethically, morally, will it really affect us financially? That's not for me to determine. That's on them. Look, I could spend all day talking about Nintendo's old-fashioned, archaic, antiquated, obsolete, and downright primitive business practices. But there just is no point anymore. You don't need me to tell you how garbage the refund policy is. You don't need me to tell you how ridiculous it is that their games almost never drop from being full price even after years of it releasing. You don't need me to tell you how bad their online servers is even though they make us pay monthly for it. You don't need me to tell you how idiotic it is that they have a company rule that Mario can't lean on the Nintendo logo? Wait, what the fuck? And you especially don't need me to tell you how stupid it is that games like Super Mario 3D All-Stars and Super Mario 35 has a limited release with zero explanation from them as to why that is the case. I don't need to drag it on any longer. Nintendo, I love your products. Many people do. The Nintendo Switch has to be one of my favorite consoles out of the 8th generation of consoles. You guys know how to make some amazing games. No one can deny that. But when it comes to the business practice side of things, you have a lot to be desired. All I ask is that you treat your fans with respect they deserve. I want to see you thrive. I want to see a community feeling proud to support you and vice versa. Please take notes on how other companies like Sega support their content creators and fan passion projects. Doing so will help both your reputation and your business in the long run. No one else can bring you guys down. You have a market that no one else can touch. And that is why I think only Nintendo can stop Nintendo. That is why I think Nintendo is their own worst enemy.